Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right, visualizing, affirming, working hard, but your deepest desires still feel out of reach? What if I told you that the secret isn't in what you're doing, or even what you're asking for, but in something far more profound, something within you that shapes every single outcome in your life? Tonight, we're going to dive into the one truth that truly holds the key. Your self-concept is the mold into which all experiences pour. Change the mold, and the substance must change to match. But try to alter your life while clinging to the same self-concept, and you will find yourself locked in cycles of temporary change, followed by swift return. This is why efforts rooted in action fail. This is why affirmations spoken without transformation of identity ring hollow. Let this be the anchor. You cannot consistently experience what you do not believe you are worthy of being. This is not punishment. It is law. You must rise to meet the version of yourself that lives in the fulfillment you desire. And once you rise, once you become, you must not waver. For herein lies the test. It is not in imagining your desire once. It is in standing in that self-image until it becomes more real than the world around you. You must be unshakable. Let me offer you a truth. The world will test the strength of your self-concept. Circumstances will arise, not to break you, but to reflect the residue of your former self. This is not evidence that your assumption is wrong. It is the echo of what was. Do not react. Do not descend. Remain where you are. If you have assumed yourself to be abundant and lack appears, do not flinch. Lack is the ghost of an old identity. Let it pass. If you have assumed yourself to be loved and someone rejects you, bless them and stand firm. For they are not rejecting you. They are exiting your new self-concept because they no longer belong. You see, when you become unwavering in your self-image, the world must reconfigure. It has no choice. But you must endure the in-between, the space between assumption and expression, with calm, resolute faith. This is why the scriptures say, having done all, stand. This is the moment most abandon the path. They assume, they feel, they radiate, but then they look. They scan the world for evidence, and when none comes immediately, they shift back. They doubt. They entertain old identities. And the world, ever faithful to the state, reflects it again. So I tell you now, the moment you choose a new self-concept, make it final. Do not entertain contrary evidence. Do not accept partial reflection. Do not return to old ways of speaking or thinking or responding. For you are no longer trying to get somewhere. You are already in. Let me give you an image. Imagine you have moved into a new home. It is beautiful, spacious, filled with light. But outside the windows, you still see the same streets from your old neighborhood. Would you panic and assume you never move? Of course not. You'd understand that your outer view will soon shift, that your inner location is already secure. This is what it means to hold your self-concept, even when the world outside still reflects your old address. Now let me go further. Your self-concept is not formed merely by thought. It is shaped by repetition, by emotion, by decision. You must saturate yourself in the new identity. Feed it with vision, reinforce it with speech, water it with gratitude, and most of all, act from it. Do not wait to feel like your new self. Act like your new self. The feelings will catch up. You cannot feel your way into a new identity, but you can live your way into it. If your new self is disciplined, show up. If your new self is confident, speak clearly. If your new self is magnetic, hold eye contact, carry yourself with poise. If your new self is prosperous, make decisions from abundance, not fear. You are not pretending. You are aligning. This is not performance. It is possession. You are not playing a role. You are returning to who you really are. For beneath all fear, all doubt, all limitation is the truth of your being. Divine, complete, powerful. Your current self-concept was not divinely assigned. It was conditioned, formed by repetition, by circumstance, by the assumptions of others you unconsciously accept. But now you awaken. And with awakening comes responsibility. You can no longer claim ignorance. You now know you are the operant power, and knowing this, you must choose your self-concept consciously, deliberately, and hold it with the reverence of one who knows the world bends to the shape they assume. Let me leave you with a sacred challenge. Tonight, choose one area of life where you've allowed the world to define you, where you've accepted limitation as identity. Write a new self-concept, a single statement that reflects the truth you now claim. And tomorrow, live from it, not once, not briefly, all day. Walk into every room as that version of you. Respond to every email, every call, every mirror as that version of you. Do not slip, do not entertain alternatives. Hold it like sacred fire and watch. Watch how the world begins to shift, not through force, but through agreement. The world is not fighting you. It is waiting for you to finally believe. So believe with every breath. Stand in the assumption. Live as the one you have chosen to be. Be unshakable. And the world will rise to meet you there. Tonight, I bring you to the next unfolding in our sacred journey, the radiance of your assumed state. For it is not enough to dwell in the fulfilled state quietly or privately. When fully embodied, the state becomes radiant. It emanates. It shapes not only your inner life, but the atmosphere around you. It becomes a silent force that transforms people, places, and events without a word spoken. You see, every state carries a vibration. And vibration is not something mystical or abstract. It is simply the emotional tone, the felt reality of your assumed identity. And this vibration goes before you. It precedes your words. It precedes your actions. It is your silent signature in every room you enter. So tonight I ask, what atmosphere do you carry? What does your presence declare, even before you speak? If you've ever walked into a room and felt tension before a word was said, or been comforted in the presence of someone serene, you've experienced the radiance of a state. And just as others transmit their states unconsciously, so do you. The only question is, are you radiating deliberately or by default? Let us return to the foundation. Everything begins in consciousness. Every outer effect has an inner cause. And when you assume a new state of being, it is not confined to your imagination. It moves outward. It saturates your voice, your tone, your posture. It influences the thoughts of others and the flow of events around you. This is not manipulation. This is not force. It is resonance. And resonance is the true power. It is how creation operates, by sympathetic alignment. When a tuning fork vibrates at a particular frequency, another tuning fork nearby will begin to vibrate in harmony with it, without contact. So too, when you occupy the state of love, of abundance, of peace, those qualities begin to awaken in the environment around. People respond to who you are being, not what you are doing. You may say all the right words. You may rehearse affirmations or visualize faithfully. But if your state is still one of fear, doubt, or lack, that is what the world will echo. Not because the world is cruel or indifferent, but because it is precise. It mirrors consciousness with unwavering accuracy. So ask yourself now, gently and honestly, what do I radiate? When I walk into a room, do I bring confidence or anxiety? Do I project trust or tension? Do I carry joy or complaint? This awareness is not to provoke guilt or shame. It is to empower you. For once you recognize what you are broadcasting, you can choose anew. You can tune your inner frequency. You can change the atmosphere. Let me share a principle that many overlook. The state you embody is not private. It is public. Even if unspoken, it is known. Dogs sense it. Children sense it. Strangers sense it. Not with their intellect, but with their being. Why? Because energy precedes language. Vibration comes before logic. This is why some people feel safe to approach, and others feel repellent. This is why certain environments feel nurturing, and others feel sterile. The invisible precedes the visible. So, if you wish to change your world, do not start with action. Start with atmosphere, cultivate the inner tone of your state until it is stable, until it no longer flickers when external events challenge it, until it is more real to you than what you see. Then observe. The people around you shift, conversations evolve. The very quality of life softens or strengthens to meet your new vibration. This is the art of living radiantly, not as a performance, not as a strategy, but as a natural extension of your inner being. Let me give you a simple practice. Begin each day not by asking, "What do I want to accomplish?" but "What do I want to radiate?" Perhaps today you choose to radiate peace. Then, every interaction, every choice, every tone of voice becomes an extension of that intention. You walk into traffic with peace. You answer emails with peace. You resolve conflict from peace. And when someone around you is anxious or reactive, you do not match them. You maintain your signal. And in doing so, you invite them into your field. You raise, not by effort, but by example. And here is the miracle. When you consistently radiate a state, the world conforms not by resistance, but by resonance. You draw to you only that which is compatible with your frequency. Now understand this clearly. Radiance is not volume. You do not need to shout your truth to make it known. The most powerful radiance is often quiet. It is a still conviction, a silent certainty, a presence that says without speaking, "I am." This is the essence of all true leadership, all healing, all magnetism. People are not moved by noise. They are moved by clarity. So I ask again, what is your atmosphere? If someone were to meet you for the first time without hearing a word, what would they feel? What would your energy communicate? If it is not what you wish, do not attempt to fix the outer. Return inward, re-enter the state. Assume again the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Rest there, let it deepen, and soon without effort you will begin to radiate a new tone. You see, you are not just a creator, you are a broadcaster. You are transmitting in every moment, whether you know it or not. And the world is responding with perfect accuracy. This is why Neville taught not only to imagine but to persist in the assumption. For persistence deepens resonance, and resonance transforms the world. You do not need to evangelize your belief. You do not need to explain your assumptions to others. Embody them, radiate them, and the world will ask you what has changed. So go now, my friends, not to force, but to emanate, not to push, but to glow. Live from your chosen state until it spills into every corner of your life. Be the vibration you once sought, and let the world be remade, not through effort, but through your invisible emanation. You are the cause, the signal, the radiant source. Let that be your truth, and let the world respond. My dear friends, tonight I invite you to step beyond mental agreement and emotional alignment. We now move into embodiment. We do not merely imagine the wish fulfilled or feel the outcome, we become it. We incarnate the state. We walk as the very living proof of the unseen reality. You see, many accept the principle intellectually that imagination creates reality, that what we assume to be true within ourselves must express without. But few take the step into full embodiment. And this, my friends, is the final bridge. What does it mean to embody the fulfilled state? It means you no longer visit the feeling, you live in it. It becomes your atmosphere. You no longer ask, when will it come? You know it is here, not tomorrow, not in some potential future, but now. And how do you behave when something is already yours? You do not beg. You do not question. You do not seek signs. You act from a calm, sovereign knowing. There is no urgency in ownership. There is no desperation in fulfillment. So tonight I ask you, not what do you want, but Who are you willing to become? Because embodiment is identity. To embody the wish fulfilled is to become the version of you who already has it. This is not about play acting. It is not pretense. It is being. Let us take an example. If your desire is to be healthy, not simply free from disease, but vibrant, energized, radiant, you must embody health. You do not wait for a doctor's report to declare it. You walk in it. You wake up grateful for it. You speak as someone who trusts their body. You eat, move, and rest not to get healthy, but because you are healthy. The actions may look the same, but the state from which they arise makes all the difference. The one who embodies is no longer chasing change. They are revealing what already is in consciousness. And here lies the key. The outer world is always catching up to the inner embodiment. So many of you are waiting for confirmation before you commit to your new state. But the confirmation will never come first. You must become it before the world can reflect it. The mirror does not smile first. And yes, this requires courage. The courage to walk in a truth before the world echoes it. The courage to invest in your vision before it pays dividends. The courage to be when everything around you says you are not. But I tell you, that moment of choice, that moment where you decide to embody rather than wait, that is the moment the universe moves. You become a transmitter, a generator, a radiant center that compels your world to rearrange. Let me give you another image. Embodiment is like setting a thermostat. You do not sit and wait for the temperature to rise before you feel warm. You set the temperature, and the environment must conform. Likewise, you set the tone of your life by the state you embody, and reality must harmonize with your signal. Now let us go deeper. Embodiment is not only about your internal feelings, it is about how you move through your life. It is not enough to feel abundant in meditation, but walk in fear throughout your day. It is not enough to visualize love, but embody defensiveness in relationship. Your state must be integrated. This means alignment in your words, your posture, your decision. It means consistency between your inner conviction and your outer behavior. If you are embodying the fulfilled state of financial abundance, how do you respond when faced with a bill? How do you speak about money in conversation? What decisions do you make about your time and energy? Do you tighten with fear, or do you trust and expand? If you are embodying the fulfilled state of deep love, how do you treat yourself? How do you show up in relationships? Do you cling and grasp, or do you rest in the confidence of being loved? Embodiment must be full, not partial, not selective, not circumstantial. You are either being it, or you are not. But here's the good news. You can choose again in every moment. No matter how many times you fall into old states of lack, fear, separation, you are one decision away from returning to your truth. Embodiment is a practice, a devotion, a continual act of claiming your divine inheritance. And let me offer you something beautiful. When you embody the fulfilled state consistently, you become unshakable. Your joy is no longer tethered to conditions. Your peace no longer depends on others. You live in freedom, not because life is perfect, but because you are rooted in something deeper than circumstances. This is true power. And now, let us address the question, how do I embody consistently? First, anchor your day in the end. Before your feet touch the ground, return to the state. Feel it. Say to yourself, it is done. I am that. Do not rush. Take a few moments to let it settle into your nervous system. Second, walk in alignment. Ask yourself throughout the day, what would the fulfilled version of me do right now? Then do that. Speak like them, think like them, move like them, and when you slip, simply return. There is no shame in remembering. Third, eliminate contradiction. Do not water the seed of your assumption with doubt and drama. Protect your state. Speak only that which supports it. Surround yourself with those who mirror it, or at the very least, those who do not challenge it. Fourth, express it. Embodiment is not silent. It is not passive. Live it out loud. Let your life become the evidence of your assumption. Not in arrogance, but in conviction. Be the walking proof. And finally, rejoice. Not because something has happened, but because you know it already has. You see, the world has taught you to wait for joy, to wait for confirmation, to wait for evidence before celebrating. But embodiment flips the script. You celebrate because you are already it. You give thanks not in response to the world, but in anticipation of its echo. You move not because you're trying to attract, but because you're overflowing. This, my dear friends, is embodiment. This is walking in the fulfilled state. And this is how you become a magnet to your own divine reflection. So go now, and do not merely imagine. Do not merely feel. Become. Sound and shall. Be the proof, be the fulfillment, and watch as your world bows in response. My dear friends, tonight we shall explore a subtle but powerful law, one that governs the rhythm of your desires, the unfolding of your dreams, and the divine choreography of all creation, the law of divine timing. Let us be clear. This principle is not about waiting passively, nor is it about imposing arbitrary timelines on your desire. It is about the sacred surrender to perfect timing, not according to the clock on your wall, but according to the wisdom of the universe itself. You see, once you have assumed the state of the wish fulfilled, once you have entered fully into the experience of already being, doing, or having your desire, there is a tendency among many to then begin watching and waiting. They peer anxiously into the outer world, scanning for signs, measuring time, questioning the process. Why hasn't it come yet? What am I missing? Should I do more? And with each of these questions, they drift further and further from the fulfilled state. The truth is this: once the inner state is fully assumed, the outer manifestation is inevitable. The seed has been planted, but just as no farmer stares at the soil in frustration 2 days after planting, you too must learn to trust the unseen work. The delay, if delay there seems to be, is never in the outer world. It is always in your own willingness to remain faithful to your assumption. Time in the realm of manifestation is not a barrier. It is a bridge, and your task is not to race across it, but to walk with faith. Now, listen closely. Divine timing is not about patience in the conventional sense. It is not gritting your teeth while hoping something will happen. Divine timing is a state of peaceful expectancy, of knowing without needing. You know it is coming. You don't need to monitor, measure, or manage. You don't need to check your spiritual watch every few moments. You simply rest, and it is in this rest that power flows. Consider this: when you release the compulsion to make it happen, when you surrender the how and the when, you open the space for the universe to deliver your desire in ways that often exceed your own limited imagination. For the truth is, your mind can only conceive based on what it has known, but the universe moves from a much higher order, from infinite possibility. You think it must come through this person, through this job, by this date. And so you build your faith around a narrow window. But what if the door is around the corner? What if the blessing is so much larger than you imagine that the delay is not punishment, but preparation? You do not plant a vineyard and harvest wine the next morning. There is a sacred rhythm to creation, a beat to which all things move. And when you align with this rhythm, you no longer question the timing. You feel it. You trust it. Let me share a principle that will set you free. The feeling of done is the antidote to delay. Not the feeling of almost there, not the feeling of getting closer, but the absolute inner conviction that it is finished. That conviction rearranges time itself. It speeds up what would otherwise take years, but it must be genuine. It must come from within. Now, how do you embody this feeling of done without becoming detached from reality? The answer lies in living as if. You do not pretend. You do not play make-believe. You live from the knowing. Your choices, your moods, your conversations reflect the fact that it is already yours. Let us say your desire is love. If you were already in that relationship, how would you move through your day? What energy would you bring to the table? If your desire is abundance, how would you feel as you paid your bills, as you walked into the world? Begin to live that way now, not because you are trying to get something, but because you are something. And this is the great paradox. The moment you no longer need the thing to appear is often the moment it does. For the need is resistance. The grasping is interference. It is only when you release the timeline, the mechanism, and the need to control that the universe is free to move. Let me tell you something that may unsettle you, but also liberate you. You don't need to know when it will happen. You only need to know that it already has. In the world of spirit, your desire is already complete. Time is only the unfolding of what already is. When you truly trust this, you begin to walk differently. You begin to breathe more deep. You smile more easily. The world no longer holds you hostage. You become magnetic, because nothing is more attractive than someone who has nothing to prove and nothing to chase. And here's where grace begins to move. People show up. Conversations shift. Opportunities bloom from barren soil. But all of this is merely the echo of your inner conviction. Let me offer you a practice. Each morning before the day begins, close your eyes and return to the scene of fulfilled desire. Feel it deeply. And then say inwardly, "It is done. Thank you." Say it not as a mantra, but as a conclusion. Then move through your day with the dignity of one who possesses it. And when doubt arises, as it sometimes will, do not panic. Do not fight it. Simply recognize it as an old voice, an echo of your past state, and return to the new. This is not suppression, it is selection. You are selecting the state you wish to live in, again and again. Remember, your faith is not measured by how long you can hold your breath, waiting for something to happen. It is measured by your ability to live as though it already has. That is true surrender. That is divine confidence. So, I say unto you, release the timeline. Abandon the clocks. Let go of the calendar you've etched in fear. Trust the divine unfolding. Know that what is yours will never be withheld. And what delays you only does so to prepare you for more than you imagine. This is not resignation. It is mastery. The master waits, not in desperation, but in delight. The timing is perfect. You need not force. You need only to know. And in this knowing, all things come. Tonight, I invite you into deeper waters, a further unfolding of what it means to live from the end, to dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled, and allow your inspired action to emerge from this sacred posture. Let us begin with a clarification. Living from the fulfilled state is not a denial of action. It is the sanctification of action. It is action born not from fear, not from scarcity, not from a desperate reaching, but from the knowing that what you desire is already yours. When you act from this awareness, you no longer manipulate life. You harmonize with it. This distinction is critical. There is action that strives and strains, and there is action that flows. The first is effortful doing. The second is inspired movement. The first says, I must do this, or I'll never have what I want. The second whispers, this is the natural next step, for I already am who I desire to be. You see, my friends, when you dwell in the fulfilled state long enough, when it becomes natural, familiar, and assumed, action begins to arise spontaneously. You find yourself doing things you could not have planned. You speak words that feel like prophecy. You take steps that, in hindsight, seem divinely orchestrated. This is not coincidence. This is coherence between your inner and outer worlds. Let me offer you a principle I have tested and proven. Every true desire contains within it a corresponding path of effortless fulfillment. You do not need to figure it out. You do not need to strategize your way into manifestation. You need only align with the state in which the desire is already realized. And from there, the path reveals itself. What you call intuition is simply the voice of your fulfilled state, guiding your steps. Think of it this way. When you turn on a radio and tune to a station, you hear the broadcast clearly. You do not create the broadcast, you align with its frequency. Likewise, when you occupy the state of your fulfilled desire, you receive its corresponding thoughts, emotions, and action. This is the essence of inspired living. Let me illustrate this with an example. Imagine a woman who desires to be an author. If she remains in the state of someone trying to become an author, she may procrastinate, overthink, or force herself to write through guilt. But if she assumes the state of one who is already an author, everything changes. She no longer writes to become, she writes because she is. The ideas flow, the discipline feels joyful, and doors begin to open. A connection here, a publisher there. But these are not coincidences. They are echoes of the state she assumed. This is the divine economy of creation. Nothing is wasted. Every step you take from the fulfilled state becomes part of a larger orchestration. You do not need to make things happen. You need only to remain in the state and trust that your actions, however ordinary they may appear, are divinely appointed. Now, let us speak plainly. How can you tell the difference between inspired action and forced effort? It is simple. Inspired action feels light, clear, often even urgent, but never desperate. There is a peace that accompanies it, a sense of inevitability. You feel moved, not driven. Time seems to bend, and you lose yourself in the moment. Contrast this with forced action, which is filled with friction. It feels heavy. There is an inner resistance, a sense of should rather than desire. One exhausts you, the other energizes you. To cultivate the conditions for inspired action, you must learn to dwell, not visit, in the state of the wish fulfilled. This is not occasional visualization. It is a lifestyle. It is a continual return to the feeling of your desire already made manifest. You carry it with you through conversations, through traffic, through quiet evenings alone. You wear it like a dormant dart, and yes, doubt will come. Old assumptions will knock on the door asking to be let back in. But you must stand guard, not through willpower, but through awareness. Recognize the imposters and choose again. Choose the fulfilled state. Choose the end. And as you persist, the strangest thing will happen. You will begin to trust life deeply. You will begin to see the choreography of events, the perfection in the timing, the beauty in the detour. You will stop needing to control, for you will know that you are already held. Remember, the act of imagining is not separate from the act of creation. It is creation. Every time you assume your desire to be fulfilled, you collapse the distance between you and the thing. You draw it near, not by chasing, but by becoming. So, the question is not, what should I do? The true question is, who am I being? From your state of being, all doing will flow. Do not wait for outer permission. Do not wait for the signs. Be the sign, be the vibration, be the fulfillment. If the desire is to teach, assume you are already the teacher. From that state, you will speak with clarity and conviction, even if the audience is only one. If the desire is for healing, assuming you are already whole. From that state, you will eat differently, move differently, rest differently. If the desire is for love, assume you are already loved. From that state, your actions will reflect worthiness, openness, and grace. Everything flows from the state. Let that be your anchor. Let that be your compass. And now I say this. There is no magic greater than the moment you realize you are no longer waiting, no longer doubting, no longer striving. You have become the thing. And from this place, action is no longer action. It is expression. It is embodiment. It is truth made flesh. So go and live from the end. Move not because you must, but because you already are. Do not force. Let it flow. Let it be. And let it come naturally, beautifully, divinely, as all things do to the one who dwells in the fulfilled state. Thank you, and may your actions be as inspired as the state from which they rise. My dear friends, let us begin tonight with a sacred invitation. I ask you to set aside everything you've ever been taught about effort, striving, or the mechanics of how the world is supposed to work. Empty your cup. Suspend your belief in struggle and ambition, in cause and effect. For in the next hour you are being called to consider a higher law, a deeper truth that governs reality itself. One not of labor, but of effortless alignment. The world you see around you, the unfolding of your days, the events of your life. These are not the result of some external mechanism churning away. They are reflections, pure and exact, of your inner state. Your assumptions, your beliefs, your deeply felt convictions, they form the blueprint from which your world arises. You are not bystander to life. You are the source. Perhaps you've heard this before. Perhaps you have nodded in agreement, mentally understanding it. But I want you to go further. Tonight, I ask you to feel it. Let it saturate your bones. For only when this principle is internalized, when it becomes your knowing, not your theory, can you wield its power. Look to nature. Does a seed strain to become a tree? Does it push and shove against the soil in desperate effort? No, the seed simply exists in quiet confidence. It holds within it the perfect pattern of fulfillment. Given the right environment, sun, soil, and water, it unfolds into its destiny without resistance. You, my friends, are no different. You carry within yourself the seed of every desire, the immaculate pattern of the life you long to live. But, unlike the seed, you often seek to force the unfolding, to dig up the ground, and command it to grow. And in doing so, you hinder the very process you hope to hasten. Understand this. Forcing is always rooted in the assumption of lack. When you feel the need to strive, you are affirming, I do not have this yet. But if you truly believe the desire were already fulfilled, would you strain for it? Would you wrestle with life? No, you would rest in the assurance that it is done. The secret, therefore, is simple. Feel the wish fulfilled. Occupy the state of already being, doing, or having that which you desire. Let this feeling be your dwelling place. You might ask, but how do I cultivate such a feeling when the world shows me otherwise? The answer is your imagination. Not fantasy, but the divine instrument of creation. Imagination, when fused with emotion and belief, shapes your world. It is the workshop in which your life is molded. Create a scene in your mind that implies your desire is fulfilled. Make it vivid. Engage all your senses. Feel the warmth, the joy, the satisfaction of already having what you seek. And then, most importantly, persist. Not with strain, but with gentle, unwavering consistency. Revisit your scene nightly. Dwell in it, not with hope, but with knowing. Some will say, but surely we must act. Yes, but action, my friends, must be inspired. It must flow from your assumed state, not precede it. When the inner state is aligned, the outer world follows effortlessly. Doors open, opportunities appear. People, events, and circumstances are magnetized to you. This is not coincidence. This is the law in motion. To illustrate, imagine a man desiring wealth. He works tirelessly, chases schemes, hoards pennies, and perhaps gains some riches, but lives in fear, in exhaustion. Contrast this with one who assumes the state of abundance. He walks in it, feels it, imagines it. From this place, he is inspired to start a business aligned with his gift. A mentor appears, unexpected income flows. Life rearranges itself, not because he forced it, but because he allowed it. Do not be deceived. This is not passivity. It is not inaction. It is alignment. To force is to fight against the very currents that seek to carry you. To allow is to trust the divine rhythm already in place. You may protest, but Neville, what of obstacles and delays? My friends, obstacles are only projections of limiting beliefs. To fight them is to reinforce them. Instead, assume they do not exist. Dwell in the state of your fulfilled desire, and what once appeared as obstruction will dissolve, or transform into stepping stones. Even in the realm of the spiritual, many of you are taught to discipline, to control, to suppress. You attempt to force positive thinking, to battle negative emotion. But this too is forcing, and what you resist persists. Instead, observe your inner world, without judgment, without reaction. Then gently redirect your focus to your desired state. This is surrender, not to the world, but to your divine self. Let me share a personal story. Years ago, I faced financial collapse. My instincts told me to fight, to work harder, to worry. But nothing changed until I changed. I imagined abundance. I felt the joy of security. I persisted in this feeling, and then the outer world began to shift. An unexpected opportunity arose. Income flowed. Within weeks, what seemed impossible became reality. No force, only assumption, only feeling, only inner alignment. So if you struggle to believe, to feel, to see, be patient. You are not just learning a technique, you are unlearning a lifetime of limitation. Persistence is not force, it is devotion. You do not dig up a seed to see if it grows. You trust, you water, you wait. Your desires are seeds. The right feeling, the right assumption, that is the water and sunlight. The rest unfolds. You may ask, will I not become lazy if I stop forcing? No, quite the opposite. True productivity arises when you are aligned. When you act from fullness, not lack, your work becomes joy, not labor. You are moved, not driven. Force is the voice of the limited ego. Allowing is the voice of the divine. One strains, the other flows. So choose. Will you live by the sweat of the brow, or by the ease of alignment? And now, I leave you with a challenge. For the next 7 days, live in the state of one fulfilled desire. Choose it, imagine it, feel it. Return to it nightly, carry it daily. No matter what your senses tell you, remain loyal to your inner knowing. Watch and care. Observe, the world will respond. For you are not a creature of fate, but the creator of your world. You are the operant power. And so I say unto you, don't force. Allow, trust, imagine wisely, and rest in the knowing that what is yours cannot be withheld. Thank you, and may the divine imagination within you be ever awake.